welcome to Sickness. I wanted to play this game a while back. I actually wanted to play this before Dies Irae. And I think I started Dies Irae thinking it was this game. Yeah, I know. Quite good comparison there. I didn't start either of them before I played this because visual novels normally don't require you to check if everything works. They just work. That's a good part about visual novels. You don't have to have a great computer. You just open them and they work. That's it. Yeah. This game is about a guy that develops some kind of sickness that leads to him killing people. And I'm not sure which route to take at the moment, if I should go for one of the girls or go for the evil route. Actually, I want to go for the evil route. I really want to, and I guess I will do that and go the girl route later on. Yeah, let's get into this. Content warning. Although Sickness is littered with both comedy and romance and illustrates many undesirable scenarios in a light-hearted manner, this game does not. It does contain adult themes. Some are limited to specific routes, decisions, and can easily be avoided, whereas others are not optional. These themes include, but are not limited to, violence, murder, sexual references, references to drug use, incest, easily avoidable, mental illness, coarse language, and other themes of a similar nature. If you are uncomfortable with such themes, please consider whether or not you wish to continue. If you choose to proceed, you will not be warned again. This warning goes for you too, viewer. My dear viewer. This is apparently rather murdery, so to speak. So yes, if you are not content with that, if you cannot watch that, then don't watch it. It is not Doki Doki Literature Club. It is not. But yeah, we'll get into this. Murder. One of the most heinous crimes a person can commit. The act of taking another human being's life. The act of robbing a person of their already limited time on this planet. It's a fear-inducing crime which anybody can commit. Every housewife, every student, every police officer is a potential killer. It's a crime that doesn't discriminate by blood or circumstances. It is a crime which can be committed by and make victims of just about anyone. Everybody remains both a potential killer and victim, blissfully ignorant of the fact that they could be next, assuring themselves that it could never happen to them. And so, as a result of that naivete, those very people never see it coming. Though the scene before me may seem horrific, in this case, as with so many others, there was no great story behind it. There was no build-up, no resentment between the victim and myself, no mutual hatred that gave us reason to fight. We didn't spend years at each other's throats. We had never fought before, neither one of us saw this coming. In reality, this is the result of a simple, common scenario. One we've all heard of before. Penny-pinching employer, a bankrupt employee, and a denied paycheck. Truly, there was nothing special about this encounter. My boss didn't taunt me or attempt to exasperate this situation. He didn't fire me, insult me, or do anything to tempt fate. If anything, I'm the one who made things worse. Rather than try to reason with him, I lashed out, beating the pompous man in front of me to a bloody pulp. I knew it wouldn't accomplish anything. I knew attacking him wouldn't get me the money I needed, and yet I needed to punish him. That's right. As self-righteous as it sounds, I couldn't let him get away with what he did. The money that greedy bastard owed me, a pittance to him, was everything to me. It would have fed my sister and I, secured our lease for another month, perhaps even granted us a brief respite from the hell we are currently living. It was a shining beacon in our otherwise miserable lives, a way to ensure our survival during such a trying and stressful time. But because of that narcissist whim, all hope I had of repairing my broken life vanished. He would deny me shelter, food, comfort, and for what? New seats for his car, a fancy watch, a new TV? And so, staring this injustice in the face, hearing firsthand how little my life meant to him, I snapped. Of course, as fitting as it may seem to reciprocate. I know this word, but I forgot how to pronounce this. His indifference to my life by taking his. Doing so was never my intention. True, I wanted to kill him. I wanted to make him suffer for belittling my life, for denying me even a moment of peace. But I realized then, as I can clearly see now, that lashing out wouldn't solve anything. So why did I do it? Why would I resort to this? Why would I deliberately choose this no-win situation? If I were to commit a criminal act, why resort to violence rather than theft? If this were truly about my wages, why seek revenge rather than alternative means of compensation? Unfortunately, there's only one answer I can give in which I am confident. You're losing your mind. It isn't the first explanation that came to mind, but it does make sense. A few hours ago I would have laughed at the cliché of a criminal blaming the voice in their head. Even more so at the notion that a person would act on the silent words of an unseen entity. However, as evidenced by the corpse at my feet, those words aren't so easy to ignore. As I attempted to survive in this two-class society, willfully believing that I was somehow immune to the corruption and classicism plaguing this town, there was always a voice whispering to me, telling me not to believe the good fortune around me. A voice filled with skepticism and doubt, preempting the inevitable, telling me to take action before it was too late. But you didn't listen. That was my first mistake. I ignored the benevolent advice offered to me, the predictions now shown to me accurate, the good faith I received from someone asking for nothing in return. When it told me to stay in school and live with a guardian, when it told me to seek work elsewhere, when it told me to look for a home somewhere safer, I didn't listen. Every step of the way I fought against the sound, logical advice it offered. If anything, I made a point of the opposite of what the voice told me to do. Or at least, until you heard what you wanted to hear. And that was my second mistake. It wasn't that I've refused to heed the voice's advice. I simply wasn't interested in taking the safe, responsible route. So, by the time that violence had become the advised course of action, my path had already been determined. Sickness. Chapter 1. A New Life. Monday, September 5th. Monday evening, September 5th. Less than half an hour ago, in this very room, I committed a serious crime. A very violent crime. A kind of crime for which people go to prison, without any hope of ever leaving. I lost control of myself, attacked my boss, and without a doubt ended my short time working in this place. I acted on impulse, as I stared in the face an injustice that threatened to take away my home, allowing myself to do the only thing I could to avoid feeling powerless. But as the adrenaline wore off and the tension cooled, I soon realized my mistake. I saw clearly the fresh corpse at my feet, the stained carpet beneath it, and the bloody hands responsible for everything before me. And so I stared at my own handiwork, accepted the gravity of the situation before me, and took immediate steps towards regaining control once more. You know, when you called me here, I figured you needed my help with something not strictly legal, but this... So, my man, you have outdone yourself. You really do have a bright future ahead of you. Unfortunately, given my dire situation, my options were quite limited. Staring an imminent prison sentence in the face, I called upon Marcus, a co-worker of mine. Contrary to his crappy dye job and lean figure, Marcus is a man of many traits, several of which aren't entirely legal. Since the moment I began working here, Marcus has been open about his criminal dealings, more than once hinting that he could help me, or vice versa. And now that things have come to this, it's time for him to take good on that promise. Oi. Less talking, more lifting. I'm here to help you two out, not to take care of everything myself. The second Marcus saw our boss in his current state, he understood the situation. Without asking a single question, he promised to help me out of my predicament thereafter, calling a man whom I'd never met before. And surely enough, upon seeing our boss's corpse, the stranger smiled to himself and grabbed Mr. Mudo's legs, dragging his body into the doorway before requesting assistance. Don't be like that. Surely a big, strong man like you can lift that weedy piece of shit by yourself. And get his poor sub's blood all over me in the process? Either give me a hand or do this yourself. Marcus and his acquaintance carried my boss's corpse into the stranger's van, which was parked just outside of Mudo's office. Thanks to the proximity of my boss's office, nobody hurt or scuffled over the machinery used within the warehouse, and Marcus's acquaintance was able to block visibility and access to the office with his vehicle. Even so, despite knowing how fortunate my circumstances were, I couldn't help but feel anxious. Whether these two successfully cover up Mudo's death or not, there's no way this can end well. All it would take is one witness who will slip of the tongue and I could wind up in prison. And even if I do get away with it, what then? Will I be indebted to Marcus forever? Will he ask for something extreme in return for his silence? No matter what scenario I envision, it doesn't bode well for me. Yeah, that bastard's heavier than he looks. Tell me about it. I thought my corpse handling days were long over. His corpse handling days? This guy sounds like the right person for the job, but just who is he? Anyway, I'll handle the disposal. You two clean up in here, alright? You're the boss, Andre. Just leave the rest to us. After all, that'll give us some time to talk about repayment. And there it is. It's not unreasonable for Marcus to expect something in return. I caught him knowing full well that I'd need to repay the favor. Even so, just thinking about how he'd expect me to repay something like this. What do you have in mind exactly? Oh, nothing big, at least not for someone like you. But really, before we get into that, I've got to tell ya. I picked you as a fighter from the moment we met, but to actually kill somebody, I seriously underestimated you. Marcus makes it sound like I planned on killing Mudo from the start, but I'm no killer, even if I've been in my fair share of fights. I've never tried to kill someone before. With that in mind, I have the perfect job for you. I'm sure he does. But given the events leading up to this moment, I have to ask. Is it a legal job? Sure, why not? As long as you don't get caught, of course. Figures. Oh, cheer up, I'm just messing with you. I've got the perfect job in mind for you. You'll be able to rake in money, feed that aggression of yours, and pay off your debts. Almost immediately. Interested? Hang on, you're offering to pay me while I repay you? Of course. Considering the reason why we're here, I thought it would be better not to get between you and your money. Whatever the case, what kind of job are we talking about? I brought you here to get me out of trouble. There won't be any point if you distract me in deeper. You really don't have any faith in me, do you? Well, so be it. Just keep in mind that you're worth more to be alive. And well, then, in prison. To me, alive and well, then in prison. Alright. I can read. I can read. That is a fair point. Not that you have a choice anyway. If you want all of this kept secret, then you're gonna do exactly as I say. Alright. Alright. That's quite sad. The background art is meh. I'm sorry for the artist, but especially this house, it doesn't have any depth to it. It just looks meh. The rest is okay-ish. I say okay-ish because I don't know. I'm not happy with the shadow work and everything. It's still better than what I would be able to. I'm sorry. I like to criticize. I know I'm too much of a critic. Richmond, a town riddled with crime and corruption. Richmond is a vast town, a collection of smaller districts, each varying significantly in terms of wealth, ethnicity, and population density. Large enough to entrap millions of everyday citizens, yet dense enough to suffocate any who dare reside within. It's a complicated town misunderstood even by those living within its walls. But beyond the size and scope of this town, there is one aspect which stands out above all others: its concentration of wealth. This is a town wherein the wealthy flock together, creating their own small utopia. They build up selective parts of the city, sculpt the law to their liking, and generally get away with it, whatever their bank balance. Well, now, the end result has been the creation of a state-sized town comprised of countless districts varying from wealthy suburbs filled with hospitals and schools to those lacking even phone lines. Put simply, this is a two-class society heavily favoring the rich. As someone living in a wealthy suburb whilst working among the poor, I'm fairly familiar with both sides of this city. Thanks to those who cling to every cent, labor can be commissioned for next to nothing, making Richmond a surprisingly cheap place to live. Public transport is constant, resources are plentiful, infrastructure is abundant, and the town keeps growing. For those with the money to support themselves, this isn't a bad place to live. On the other hand, with so much competition for work, most residents have no choice but to accept whatever work they can and to slave away for as little as necessary. Slave wages are standard practice, workplace safety laws don't apply, and it's every man for himself. For anyone without a white-collar job, this town is hell. And with mere weeks left on our lease, it won't be long before my sister and I experience that hell for ourselves. Of course, looking back over our lives until this point, I can't really complain. Before our parents passed away, Sarah and I lived sheltered, easy lives, never worrying for a second about housework or finances. We lived good lives in a safe neighborhood. We attended an adequate school, ate healthily, and were never far away from medical help. So now, even with all that being stripped away, we're still better off than most others in our situation. Or at least we would be. If I hadn't just single-handedly destroyed our new lives. No matter what excuse I give, whether I blame my boss's penny pinching, the foreign anger I felt searching through my body, or merely my desperate need for cash, it doesn't change the fact that I killed a man. Even so, I don't feel guilty. I barely even regret the loss of life. If anything, it was the most fun I've had in months. A single moment of pure bliss, taking me away from the harsh reality of my new life. Rather, what's eating away at me now is the imminent aftermath. Thanks to my selfish act of revenge and self-indulgence, I now have to explain to my only family why, after a mere 2 weeks in this house, we'll be forced to move again. Without a stable source of income, we won't be able to live here much longer, and I refuse to allow my sister to be subjected to the discrimination and crime that makes the city so unlivable for the poor. But with my only chance of recovering resting in the hand of a friend who essentially blackmailed me into meeting with him tonight, I have no illusions over how this will go. So if my choices are to give Sarah fair warning before our lease expires, or to place my faith in a criminal whom I've known for a mere 2 weeks, then... Well, can I even call that a choice? Well, that was an interesting start. I'm not so sure what to make of it yet, but I like it. I don't know, I never told you, right? I'm striving to get into criminal psychology, so something like this is really interesting to me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!